Joe, so you are here at the Excel. Now, you're not a Jehovah's Witness.
No.
And you're not part of the protests either.
No.
So when you came here and you saw all these protest signs, what did you think of it?
I don't know. I read a few of the signs and thought, oh, okay, there's got to be something going on here too, alongside what we came here for. Yeah, it's...
Because they're pretty incendiary. Some of them say, shunning kills, Jehovah's Witnesses protects pedophiles, and they have a blood doctrine as well. They're not allowed to give blood transfusions.
I know about that. I just explained that to you, didn't I?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think they're bad people at all, the Jehovah's Witnesses, but I don't agree with what they follow and what they teach.
Yeah, I think that's a general consensus of the people there who were in the Jehovah's Witnesses and are now out, largely speaking.
Okay, so they've got, not evidence, what's the word?
Well, issues, I guess you could say.
Well, yeah, they've got knowledge of what's going on, yeah.
Yes, things have happened to them when they were children, things to do with abuse and also the blood doctrine and being shunned, which means if you do something that the church doesn't like, even trying a cigarette or something like that, your whole family turns their back on you. As long as 20 years if need be.
Wow.
And some of them, that's what they've been through.
But that's not what God teaches, is it? God teaches that He loves us all.
Well, that's what you would say to them. The Bible doesn't teach that, but they seem to have picked that out of there. So there you go. Well, thank you so much for talking.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Sam, so you're here at the protest and you have an interesting story to tell.
My story's pretty much the same as many people. We suffered domestic violence in our household and it was mishandled. And basically when I spoke up about it, the elders didn't like that, and they didn't want us to go to the police or go to a homeless shelter or anything like that. I threw my husband out because he beat my daughter. And basically, because I was speaking out about it, I wasn't a submissive wife, and I got disfellowshipped. And then I still believed that Armageddon was going to come, and I believed that we were going to live in a happy new paradise, and I believed that these were men who'd made decisions were imperfect. So I tried to get reinstated. So I carried on attending meetings, wrote in letters to get reinstated, and it was only then did I realise this process is not really biblical. And I recorded my judicial committee meeting, which was in 2013.
Can you explain to people who don't know what that means?
Well, they form a judicial committee to judge you to see whether or not you're repentant enough to be reinstated back into Jehovah's Witnesses.
Wow.
So when they say they don't shun and they welcome people back, that wasn't the case with me. They didn't welcome me back. They said I wasn't repentant, and I'll send you the recording. Yeah, it's a 17-minute judicial meeting where they told me I wasn't repentant enough and I had to sort my life out because I was currently separated with my husband, and that's not really allowed unless you divorce for adultery. That's the only thing that's allowed.
And what do you think of the protest, how it's gone today, and the fact that some JWs have actually approached the barrier and spoken to us? What do you think of that?
Well, yeah, it's been great. I've had a few chats with people, and I'm very interested in all religions. I've been speaking about how Mormons shun and how Scientologists practice shunning. So a lot of the Jehovah's Witnesses, talking to me about how it's only the really bad ones who get shunned, and I'm like, well, what about if you're gay?
Yeah.
And we've got some gay protesters here.
But to them, that is really bad.
Yeah.
And
so
even things like smoking, if you're caught smoking, I've heard you can get shunned for that.
Probably, yeah. So, I mean, that's not been my experience, but I don't know. I think it depends. It depends which elders you know and how kind of in you are within the congregation. So some people won't get disfellowshipped because the judicial committee will judge that you're repentant. So you only get disfellowshipped
They know because they're,
if you're not repentant.
Yeah, they've got a conduit to God, I suppose.
Absolutely, yeah. They pray and pray and pray, and magically they get told this one is repentant.
Yeah, the Mormon leaders have the exact same thing happen with them. Isn't that amazing? All right, Sam, thank you so much for talking.
You're welcome. Thank you very much. We'll do a left hand shake.
Fantastic.
Okay.
That's disfellowshipping offense, though. That's handedness.
Hold on, back of the shirt says, raising awareness of the harm that the Jehovah's Witness organization does in society, protecting current and former members from abuse, protecting the public from dangerous predators. Oh yeah, there we go, boom, that's why we're here.
Thank you.
It looks like a lot of people are interested in our signs. We got someone approaching. Hello.
Fine, you? Yes, thank you. Lovely day.
Yeah.
Sally Hawks, thank you so much for talking to us. And you're here for the JW protests, so I'm assuming you were a JW yourself.
I was, yes, for 25 years.
And what is it about the doctrine that led you to leave?
The shunning. My best friend left and we were told to shun her, which I couldn't understand. You know, she hadn't done nothing wrong, she just wanted to spend more time with her family, who weren't witnesses.
Yeah.
But she was shunned.
And you're showing me a newspaper article earlier, so you tell us a little bit what happened there.
Well, when I wanted to leave, the elders would send sisters round or phone me up and saying, you need to come back. And it got so that I was scared to answer the phone, answer the door. So in the end, I called the police. The police did go round to the presiding overseer, and he was warned, but that didn't stop them. They still kept coming. So in the end I went to the newspaper, the East Anglian Daily Times, and they put an article in, and that did stop them. Years ago, the gentleman I came up with, Wayne Mann, he used to protest outside the hall, and that makes you think when you see people outside like that.
Yeah.
And it's peaceful. We're not shouting at people, we're not being unkind. We're just trying to wake them up and get them to think for themselves.
And some of the JWs who are coming out for lunch now are actually coming up to the banners and asking about them. I'm surprised they were even allowed by the elders to actually come out this exit. What do you think of that?
Yeah, well, they probably will be told when they go back in, or by their congregations, that these are all apostate lies. These are lies put out by Satan and, you know, his hordes.
For what reason would we be lying? That's just what we do.
There's no reason to lie, because everybody all over the world who you talk to is an ex-witness. We all have the same story. Whether we're put out or we're left on our own fruition,
Yeah.
We all have the same story of how cruel it is in there, how you have to shun your family, how you have to fear if you have to go into hospital, in case you have to face the blood issue.
The blood issue is of course, the not taking blood into the body, because there is, I think it's a verse in Deuteronomy that says don't take blood into the body, probably referring to drinking blood.
Exactly.
But they say that also applies to modern day blood transfusion, which kills people.
Well, you know, in the 60s, JWs were allowed to have fractions from blood. They were allowed. They weren't allowed. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
They weren't allowed.
But now they are.
And now they are. So how can God say, well, that was bad then, but now it's all right?
It's like the Mormons with having blacks in the priesthood. They couldn't, and then suddenly after civil pressure they could because of a revelation. Yeah. It's very obvious, all man-made, isn't it?
Exactly. And like you say, it was drinking the blood. I mean, David and his men, they ate meat that hadn't been bled properly, and they weren't punished by God.
That's a good point.
So why are we punished?
Exactly. So thank you so much for talking to us, and I hope you have a great day.
Yes, thank you so much.
So Meg, how do you think it's gone? It's gone brilliantly, hasn't it?
Yeah, it went really good.
Yeah, and the sun's gone in, unfortunately, but it's been really good weather. We had a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses coming out twice, once during their break time at about 12, and then now between 4 and 5 when it's all finished. And they've been giving the protest some weird looks.
Oh yeah.
Like, almost like that sort of car crash, like, oh, should we really be looking at this?
Yeah.
And also some of them actually approached the barriers and had little confrontations, didn't they?
Yeah, actually we had 3 young girls, probably just preteens or early teenagers, come up to me, and I was next to Adam at the time, and they were just asking, like one of them came up first by herself, and she was very confrontational. She just walked right up and said, "Can I just ask you a question?" And we're like, "Yes." And she's like, "Why are you doing this? Why are you here?" And so we tried to explain to her why. We're here to bring awareness of the policies of the watchtower, because there's a lot of things that the governing body or the elders just don't tell you about, and we want you guys to be aware because we care about you, and we also want to bring awareness to other people. But her and her friends seemed to just think that, they kept saying that, "I don't get why you're attacking us," and we had to keep reiterating. And I said to her, "Listen, I'm not attacking you, I'm not attacking any individual here. I absolutely love you guys and want you guys to know the truth. That's why we're here. That's part of the reason why we're here. We're here because we care about you." And I think, and then a guy came over, older, possibly like elder age, but he wasn't an elder, I don't think, but he came over and he's like, "Don't waste your time talking to these people, don't talk to these people." And he was
said that to the girls?
He said that to the girls, "Don't talk to these people." And he was really like angry about it. And then it's funny because Adam started kind of like, I was shocked that he would come over and just say it outright like that. And I don't know, I guess I'm forgetting what it's like to be a witness, but that's pretty much what it's like.
I'm surprised they actually even passed by. We're like told to go a different direction altogether, but the fact that they actually came up and confronted, is that a new thing, do you think? Or?
Well, it's not. The fact that anyone came up to talk to us was pretty brave on their part, because they're pretty much told not to do that.
Yeah.
So even if they're coming up, pretending to be defensive, maybe they actually wanted to just know, and they had to come up like that because people were watching. Who knows?
Yeah.
But the man was like, "Don't talk to them, don't waste your time on these people." And Adam just kind of like laughed and said...
So no real arguments?
No real arguments. Adam just kind of laughed and said, "Well, do what you want, and you can do whatever you want. And I guess I think that kind of got through them, because they didn't leave. They just stayed and kept talking to us. So by the time they left, it wasn't like they had come over to our side or anything like that. They were still very much like, no, I'm over here and you're over there. But at the same time, it was like a different demeanor, and it wasn't as confrontational and upsetting, because we were very kind and calm and cool and didn't raise our voice. They actually raised their voice. They were getting emotional and upset, but then I explained, like, this is not against you, this is not against anyone, this is just to show that we care about you guys, and we want you to know these things that you're unaware of. We want you to look up. She asked about what's this pedophile problem, and then
She didn't know what that existed.
Yeah, she didn't know that. She's like, what are you talking about? There's no child abuse that goes on.
Okay.
And I was like, well, I said, listen. She was like, and then when I told her to look up the Australian Royal Commission, well, then it changed to, okay, well then there's not a lot of it, or this happens everywhere. And I was like, listen, this happens in every organization, but it's how the organization deals with it.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
It does happen everywhere, but in this organization, they go out of their way to cover it up.
Exactly. And so we're hoping that we gave them enough information to go do some research, and we're hoping that just the fact that we were very kind and caring will help them to want to.
Yeah, it was a very peaceful protest. We just held up our signs. Nobody yelled anything.
No.
Nobody beckoned anyone over. They came over to us.
Yes. Yeah. The funny thing is, like, we waved at some people sometimes just to be like, hi, just to let them know we're friendly. But we didn't call anyone over or yell or anything. We just stood behind we even had our barrier. Like, we had to stay in a certain area because of just how the laws are with this particular property, seeing as it's private property.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, it was perfect. I'm really happy with how it turned out.
I'm very happy as well, and it's going on tomorrow and also next weekend. So I don't know, we're going to be at all those?
Well, I'm not going to be next weekend, but maybe you will be.
Quite possibly. It's really fascinating, to be honest with you, and I think perhaps it has opened a few eyes.
I think so. I think even if not today, they'll at least be burned into their memory the signs that they've seen, and they'll look it up when they're ready to.
Exactly, and that was the point of this, is education. And so let's see what happens.
Yep.